I was born in a large Welsh town at the beginning of the Great War. An ugly, lovely town, or so it was and is to me, crawling, sprawling by a long and splendid curving shore, where truant boys and sandfield boys and old men from nowhere beachcombed, idled, and paddled, watched the dock-bound ships, or the ships steaming away into wonder and India, magic and China, countries bright with oranges and loud with lions. Threw stones into the sea for the barking outcast dogs, made castles and forts and harbors and racetracks in the sand, and on Saturday summer afternoons listened to the brass band, watched the Punch and Judy, or hung about on the fringes of the crowd to hear the fierce religious speakers who shouted at the sea as though it were wicked and wrong to roll in and out like that.
Morning mist glides over Snowdon, over the mountains where the men of Wales for centuries fought their enemy, the English, over the castles, over Harlech and Conway and Carnarvon, garrisoned by English kings in the long and far-away wild wars. Morning mist over the Vale of Llangollen, and over the oldest rocks in the world, the ageless, world-backed, morning-waking mountains. And the mist moves too, but yellower and greyer now, over cold, bare hillbacks and violent grassless peaks, from green to black mountain, from green to grey Wales. Morning is breaking over Wales at war. Not the long and far-away wild war of the mountain Welshmen and the English kings, but the terrible near war of England and Wales and her brothers and sisters all over the earth against the men who would murder man. The finding of coal, copper, iron ore, and anthracite brought power and wealth to the valleys that had needed nothing but the peace of their fields and the honor of the labor of their own hands. The valleys grew rich. Houses spread over the hills. Smoke and dirt blew over the unrecognizable meadows, the fields of brick and steel. The valleys grew rich. But all the time the power and wealth of the world were rocking. Rocking. Then the days when the pits stopped. The factories closed their gates. The furnaces died out. And the great sheets of smoke that had floated over industrial Wales came down like blinds over the blind windows of the mean streets, came draping down over the houses without hope, over the locked shop and the leaking roof. At the corners lolled the old young men, or they walked their thin whippets over the dirty grass, or they scrabbled on the tips for fish trails of coal. Remember the procession of the old young men, from dole queue to corner and back again, from the pinched, packed street to the peak of slag in the bite of the winter with a shovel and bag, with a drooping bag and turned-up collar, stamping for the cold at the ill-lit corner, dragging through the squalor with their hearts like lead, staring at the hunger and the shut pithead, nothing in their pockets, nothing home to eat, lagging from the slag.
Under Milk Wood by Dylan Thomas. To begin at the beginning. It is spring, moonless night in the small town, starless and Bible black. The cobbled streets silent and the hunched quarters and rabbit's wood limping invisible down to the slow black, crow black, fishing boat bobbing sea. The houses are blind as moles, though moles see fine tonight in the snouting velvet dingles, or blind as Captain Cat, there in the muffled middle by the pump and the town clock, the shops in mourning, the welfare hall in widow's weeds, and all the people of the lulled and dumbfound town are sleeping now.
Now Tom, Dick, and Harry were three fine men, and I'll never have such loving again. But little Willie Wee, who took me on his knee, oh, little Willie Wee was the man for me. I once loved a man, his name was Tom. He was strong as a bear and 2 yards long. I once loved a man, his name was Dick. He was big as a barrel and 2 feet thick. I once loved a man, his name was Harry, 6 feet tall and sweet as a cherry. But the one I loved best, awake or asleep, was little Willie Wee, and he's 6 feet deep.